Welcome my bannermen and my banner women. Today what we're looking at is tier sets. Why? No particular reason, I just wanted to show all of you how tier sets look in game, because in the last couple of days we got this bit of news. It wasn't confirmed yet that the tier sets were also going to give us powers. Instead, now we have gotten the data mining in game of the new set bonuses, the set bonus names of the tier sets. So we still don't know what they do, but we know that the 2-piece and the 4-piece set bonuses are getting introduced into the game. So I thought it was a good idea to start taking a look at how the tier sets look, especially because showing you pictures, right, showing you stills like this doesn't quite give you the full idea of how a tier set looks. So instead we can just look at it in game with all of the extra particle effects and whatnot working. So the main difference, first of all, between the raid set and the PvP set, as you can see here, there's a difference. The difference is that there is a cloak missing in the PvP version. The PvP version doesn't have a cloak while the raid version does. That's basically the main difference that happens. Also, there is one thing that, as it often happens, is the same for all sets, regardless of the class, which is the color scheme, the palette chosen for the different raid difficulty. So you have LFR, which is this Viridian, I guess, light green type of palette, and then you have normal, which is going to be yellow, and heroic, which is going to be blue. What ruins everything in this scheme is mythic. You would expect mythic, if you have green, yellow, and blue, then it's going to be red, right? Mythic is going to be red, some type of red. Instead, it's this terrible color. Not bright enough. As I said before, I think you can always differentiate the rare epic raid gear by how flashy it is, by how colorful it is. So it's kind of weird that this is the mythic version and this is the heroic version, right? This is much more visible. Even the normal one with yellow, they're all just more flamboyant than this mythic version. Now, that being said, the color combination, the color palette, and the hue of the tier set is still a preference. So if I had to rate them by how cool they look, then our first one, the DK one, goes straight into royalty tier. I think it's just great the way the shoulders and the helmet, which are usually the big hitters of your tier set, in how it looks, they look great for Death Knight, so it's a very nice look. The crystal style around the gloves as well and around the boots is also quite nice. The only minor thing is the cloak. Can you even call this a cloak? Like, it's awful. You won't use this cloak when you want to look like this tier set. I can guarantee you that. You're gonna find a different, better one than this garbage. Now, the next in line, as we are loading in, is Shaman. Now, Shaman has been praised before for its tier sets. This is the PvP version, and then this is the raid version with the cloak. First thing to mention is that unlike DK, apparently they know how to design cloaks for shamans, because this is the cloak. Look at that, an actual cloak that fits the actual theme of the set. Amazing. The other thing I want to mention with these tier sets is that they are based on rock. They want to make them rocky. What's the thing about rocks? Well, rocks are solid, they are big, they are thick, so it would have been difficult to go the usual Blizzard style of simply painting some texture on your body, which is what happens here. We actually do have some significant three-dimensional objects in this tier set. You can see here from the chest that it's filled with little pebbles and bits of rocks protruding from the chest, which is nice because it doesn't often happen that you do have this feeling of depth, this feeling of solid three-dimensional armor that you're wearing. It doesn't often happen in WoW most of the time, so it's quite nice with this set for this to happen. The Shaman set itself looks quite nice. As usual, we still have the same problem that this is a nice color combination. This is also still nice, although it's not nearly as yellow as Death Knight. This is still nice. Blizzard is going for some reason with a much more overall blue color for both the DK and the Shaman. You can see the Raid Finder still being mostly brown in the rest of the body, so is the normal version, but then you go to the heroic version and it's just full blue. And then you have the mythic version, which is again, I'm not too much of a fan overall. The big difference for Shaman is that, as you have noticed perhaps, there is a kilt. The mythic version, unlike heroic and unlike normal and unlike Raid Finder, has a kilt. That's the main difference when it comes to Shaman. The Shaman tier is quite nice, it's quite fitting to be this rocky style, primal elementalist style of set, so it's also a very nice set. I don't think it's as good as the DK set, but it's definitely a good one. After Shaman, we have Warrior, another plate user. Usually, you know, tier sets for Warrior are filled with quite large shoulders and whatnot. So you have the Gladiator and the Elite version, which are the same palette as all the other Glad and Elite versions, the dark blue and the red versions. And then you have the Raid one with the same color palette. This one is green, this one is gonna be yellow. Then you're gonna have the blue version, which is more blue than the other two colors. And then you have the Mythic one. This is perhaps the worst of them when it comes to color palette because of how similar it is. I think if you like the colors, it's gonna look great, right? The shoulders are quite nice, the helmet is quite nice. It starts looking a little bit samey. This covered face, right, encased in rock, starts looking a little bit repetitive, but it does look nice. I'm not a fan, however, it's just way too gray. To me, a tier set needs to be bright. It needs to be flashy, it needs to be colorful. Yes, there are going to be plenty of enjoyers of minimalistic looks, for sure. But I would much rather have this one, for example. It's just way more goofy, way more bright and enjoyable. Also, unlike DK, apparently Blizzard does know how to make a cloak for a plate class. Would you look at that? How surprising compared to the Death Knight version. This is also a quite nice palette combination, the green one, between the bronze-ish and the green one, plus this added white to the yellow set, and even the blue version. I just not a fan whatsoever of this one. Yes, while it is still nice that plenty of pieces are three-dimensional, right? Plenty of pieces are extending from your actual armor. It looks nice. It makes for quite a rocky type of set, but overall, I'm not enjoying the Warrior set as much as, at the very least, DK, if we have to talk about another plate user. Going away from plate users and going back to male users, we do have Hunter. Hunter has the typical let's put the skull of what we killed as our helmet style, which continues in Dragonflight, and this is again a pseudo dragon bone helm, basically. I am a fan, however, of the whole layer of crystals all in the back. I think it's great. The connection between the shoulder pads and basically the back of the helm. I think it's quite nice. It's quite nice looking. What I don't like is that it's only present in your shoulders and necks. There is no more crystals. We saw the DK one, which was filled with crystals, but then it was also crystals in the gloves, crystals in the boots. This one, first of all, this look awful. And then you have only the crystal here. I think it doesn't look as nice. It is complemented, saved by the cloak in the Raid version. The yellow with the yellow and then the hue turning into deeper red down the cloak. But the rest is not nearly as fitting. I just would have wanted to see the same crystals like these in the gloves, around the belt and here. And also get rid of this thing, which is just awful to even just look at. Surprisingly, even the blue set which turns even bluer in the other classes, this one doesn't even turn that blue. So that's my main concern for the Hunter version. Great looking from the top, as it is for many sets. The shoulders and helmets are great, but they don't fit with the rest of the armor. I think it needs more crystals. So the Hunter set has the potential to go here if they add more crystals. As long as they don't add more crystals, I don't like it nearly as much. It's just way too different from the top to the bottom. I think it needs to be filled with more crystal stuff for Hunters. We then get our first of the cloth classes, which is going to be Mage. So Mage is this type of, trust me bro, I'm not a Warlock type of set. This helmet is quite reminiscent of your run-of-the-mill Warlock sets, even the Priest ones, even when they were making the edgy Priest ones, you know, closer to the Shadow Priest type of style. This is still not quite magey, I believe, but what I don't like about this, perhaps it's gonna be a victim of the type of model. It's a quite narrow model. I think this helmet is nice, but it's gigantic compared to the shoulders. I don't think it's right ever, not even for a tier set, just for a set of shoulders, to be smaller than the helmet. Like, look at this. This is like a half, maybe even less than a half of the actual helmet. The colors are nice. Unlike the Hunter, they actually do make the bright stuff everywhere, right? There is this type of crystal here, and then in the helmet, and then in the belt, and then in the gloves, and then in the boots. So the problem Hunter has, Mage doesn't. Mage is very nice in this regard. It's not as problematic as the Hunter lack of crystals, but it's still not as great. Why did I put Mage here? I think overall it just needs a little bit of a rework here. And also something in the chest, please. If I showed you this, right? If I showed you this, you would tell me this is some Burning Crusade leveling green. Perhaps this would give it away. The fact that it's a bit three-dimensional. It wouldn't be from TBC, but Warlords. It would be like a Warlords leveling green, right? It needs some more crystals in here. In this shape right here, this bit, and this bit should probably be crystals, bright crystals, to make this cooler. Then we have Rogue, the first leather class. Rogue, over the years, has gotten quite a lot of edginess in its set, right? Rogue is, after all, edge incarnate, even more than Warlock, when it comes to sets and how they look. Not the case, however, for this set. This set is quite exotic, it's quite different, it's quite unique, it's not very roguey. Doesn't look like an assassin, doesn't even look like a shadow assassin like sometimes they go for in style. This looks quite unique. You would be hard pressed to actually guess that this was a rogue set until you saw the bandana, right? The classic half mask cover, which is a rogue classic. But besides that, you could even say that this was a druid set because of this and just how it looks overall. The color theme is not that great. They suffer from the same issue where they have yellow here and balls around their chest, and that's the only yellow. That's it. Like, what is this? Where's the yellow? That's my issue for Rogue, the fact that it's again not bright enough and it's not very roguey. Some players might enjoy. No judgment if you enjoy the lack of rogueness in a Rogue set, but I don't particularly enjoy it when it comes to Rogue. Then we have Priest. So Priest usually goes two ways. Do we go for the angelic or the heaven blessed type of feel with the set, or do we go for the edgy shadow style of set? That's usually where they go with when it comes to priest sets. With this priest set, they obviously went the edgy way. They obviously went for the shadow cultist way, pretty clearly, right? It is extremely cool, right? Especially, I mean, look at this. Like, come on. This is very nice. I can already tell you it's my favorite set across all of them. I mean, what is there to say? It's just even the color palette between the bright yellow which is still here, and it's even flaming, and then even in the back, and then even here. It's just so good. It's just so nice in the way it's being shaped. Even the blue one, again, it's not even as bright blue as the others because there isn't much room for it. And then you have the mythic version, which of course ruins everything. It's clearly the worst one out of all of them, as usual. But the niceness is also the scrolls, right? You're a priest, you have your scrolls, your things to read, your magical spells, so it's very thematic, it's very fitting. It instantly reminded me of some Warhammer high health caster. It's still on the edgy side, but it looks very nice overall for priest. The color palette of all of them is just very, very nice. The theme overall is just very, very nice. So priest is easily the better one. For confusion, let's even put it first. Very, very nice. I said it was closer to the edgy side, but it is still just an overall very nice and high level looking set, especially with the physics. The physics of you running around with all of these scrolls wiggling around on your shoulders. Just overall great. Now, talking about edginess, we just went through Rogue. We wondered if Priest could have been edgy as well. Now we have the other king of edginess, the queen. If the Rogue is the king, then Warlock is the queen of edginess. So what do they get in terms of edginess? Well, you know, I would call this standard Warlock edginess, right? Look at this. How edgy is this? You've got your, of course, Death Knights can get skulls of dragons, and they get them even bigger skulls than Death Knights, just to show who the real Chad edgy guy is. They've got the dragon, they got the crystals for the dragons with all the lightning around. Of course, horns, because Warlocks are contractually obligated to have horns in their sets. And then of course even here, even more horns in the belt. What I also like, once again worth reminding, more 3D elements down the set with also brightness, which is something that many other sets don't do. You can see here, it's instantly visible. You have the brightness, you have the brightness, and then you have brightness here and brightness here, which is something that Hunter didn't do, that Rogue didn't do. This one is very clear. Look at how nice, how complementary it is. Brightness on all layers of the gear. It would have been cooler if the boots were actually bright, just to complement it perfectly. Maybe you can find some boots in some transmog style that actually are this type of color. That would be great for the set. Same goes for this one. Same goes for Heroic, for their bright blueness. And then lastly, to ruin everything, you have this depressing color which just melds with the rest of the set. It's way too similar, you know. It's just way too similar in color. I don't like it too much. I'm sure many people will. Overall, you know, it's very, very high level. I think I'm gonna put it here just because it's so Warlock, you know. Maybe for other classes it wouldn't do it, but for Warlock it's just very, very fitting as a tier set for them. After Warlock we have the opposite. We have just gone through the trio of edginess with Rogue, Priest and Warlock, but now we have Paladin. So are there gonna be any good style, the Crusades are back type of Paladin sets? No, I don't think it's too much. This is closer to like a Warhammer 40k type of Space Marine or something, because, you know, it does look like an Inquisitor basically. They are coming back with the flappy scrolls for Paladin, not nearly as big or as many as the Priest version. I don't understand this whiten here. I think they just forgot to paint it red actually. But yeah, so it is nice. If it looks nice, perhaps not as nice because I am on a stupid fat lump of meat as a model, so perhaps doesn't look nearly as cool. But the color palette is very nice. The brightness is present throughout the set. Not that much, there's only bits and pieces of brightness, but they still do the job, right? It's still visible throughout the set for all of the different colors. Perhaps the helmet is a bit too narrow. I complained about Mage having the head too big and the shoulders too small. Perhaps this is kind of the reverse. They are going for this encasement in rocks, so of course they are making the helmet very big. Look at this, it's very big. But the result is that perhaps maybe the helmet is slightly too tiny. Maybe it's because it's a dwarf. Maybe because the body is so large that the helmet looks tiny. But overall it's a nice set. Not one of my favorites, but I haven't gotten too much to complain. Yeah, I mean, if I haven't got too much to complain, I think it's still a good fitting set. But then again, I don't think it's enough to even out Shaman, so I think it can stay here. Here in first place, right? It's a good spot for the Paladin set. After Paladin we have Druid. Now the one question for the Druid set is, which beast are they going to be? Because usually that's what happens in a Druid tier set, right? They make them some type of beast. So, okay, I guess they made them a feral boomkin, you know, a moonkin with some very dangerous talons. I guess that's what they're going for with this set. So colors, once again, you have the green one, you have the yellow one, and then you have the blue one, and lastly the ruining one. I think it's okay. I'm not too big of a fan, honestly. Many druids might like it. I don't like these sort of talons with these effects, or the one in the gloves. I think the gloves are just way too gigantic. Look at how large they are. The effect on the glove is like larger than the actual hand. It makes it very feral. It makes it very druidy, very primal shaman for druids. But I'm not too big of a fan. Many druids will like it, but I'm not too big of a fan myself. I also don't like. Okay, this is a druid troll without boots, but I would like to see more bright colors in the boots. We haven't seen it yet for some reason. I think making a very bright helmet and then making a very bright set of boots would actually complement the set quite well in terms of colors, but doesn't look like Blizzard likes it. Yeah, I think it's decent. I think it's average overall. I'm not too big of a fan of this druid set. We only have 3 left now: Monk, Demon Hunter and Evoker. Now Monk, this fat guy, how could he possibly ever look good in a tier set for monks? So, the tier set. You know what? Actually, it does look almost good. Sure, it's a Pandaren, but it looks nice. The set is quite nice. You have the typical balls, whatever is the official actual name for these monk-like beads around the shoulders. Nice effect. Nice particle effects on shoulders and helmet for monk. The eyes are a little bit too low quality. They should also be glowing, and I don't get why they are making them not colored like the rest of the set, so red. It's not an issue in the actual tier set for the raid. They are fittingly colored for the color of the set. You know what, it's fine. I think if I manage to see this and think it's nice even while looking at a fat, short panda, it means it's quite good. You know, I think it's nice. Even the cloak, which looks awful on this like fat ass, it's quite nice. Even the bandana at the back, the color is nice. Even beads, hey look, they actually put some brightness in the boots. Nice. So it's actually very nice, despite being on a panda and despite being ruined by the mythic version, which is just a paddle of the same color palette. It's just awful. The rest is actually quite nice. Very, very nice overall, despite this model. So I would put it quite high, honestly, as monk. Very, very high. Not as high as the best, but very high quality. Last of the traditional classes of Shadowlands before introducing Evoker, we have Demon Hunter. Now, I might have made a mistake mentioning the trio of edginess with Warlock, Rogue and Priest, because maybe Demon Hunter can enter the gang and make it a quartet. They are not foreign to having some edginess to their sets. However, there is not much edginess in this. This might be the most standard, really just average set they have gotten when it comes to being edgy. Now there is some brokenness in the set on the wardrobe. Here it works better. You have working particle effects here. There is a weird decision of giving a lot of particle effects in the back. You literally have a sphere behind you that is supposed to basically follow you as you move. It looks quite dull at first glance, right? It's quite weird seeing, you know, a Demon Hunter from far away, and it looks like this. I'm not overall too big of a fan. I like the gloves. I like the way they are shaped. I like the shoulders are okay and serviceable. It has basically no belt, not a lot of color going down, not a lot of brightness going down, and the helmet looks bad. It's just way too thick. Looks like a mollusk. You know, one of those deep sea mollusks that just ate her head. It doesn't look nice overall, this Demon Hunter set. It's maybe welcomed by Demon Hunters because it's not nearly as edgy and as the other sets, but I'm not too big of a fan overall of this one for Demon Hunters. Definitely the worst one of the ones I've seen so far. What we have left, however, is the new one. The question, how will a tier set look on an Evoker which can't show that much gear to begin with, right? So this is the Evoker. This is the set. Well, you know, obviously you're not going to be able to show much on the Evoker, right? So this is going to be your set. Obviously, well, I mean, does it even count? Nice. Nice. Obviously, if you take away the dragon form, this is the tier set. Obviously, you're also not gonna see this too much when you're fighting, first of all. Second of all, I would like to remember all of the viewers at home that this is supposed to be a male user. I'm pretty sure that if I told you this was a warrior, you would be like, duh. It's like a copy of the Deathwing's shoulders from Cataclysm, right? Even the helmet. Yeah, I mean, the set itself doesn't look too bad when you take it all together. It does have some more brightness on the edges, the gloves and the boots. Not much, honestly. Literally just the outline of the coloring. And then you have something we have seen before. This style of shoulders and this style of helmet, we have seen it before. So it's not particularly impressive. The first thing I noticed when I looked at this is that the part below all of the attachments, so the part below the helmet, the shoulders, the gloves and the belt, looks like a pajama. It looks like a comfy PJ below if you take away all of the armor. That's really funny. So yeah, I mean, this is the Evoker. This is the imaginary Evoker icon that is not here yet. Not very good, but I wasn't expecting much either from Evoker, honestly, given how you're gonna be fighting most of the time, so it's not really gonna matter that much. So this is what I thought the sets looked like now that we can see them all in-game, in the models, the particle effects working in-game, rather than just looking at pictures. I am a very big fan. To me, the favorite one is definitely the priest version, the priest one. Most of their colors are great. DK is also very, very nice, although it has some problems here and there. The cloak is a abomination, to be fair. Warlock is extremely edgy for being Warlock, very nice. Shaman and Monk both look very, very polished and nice. Even more so perhaps Monk, given that it was looked on a Pandaren male. And then you have Paladin, Warrior and Mage, which all look nice, but they have some issues, at least issues for me, which is the brightness and the coloring of the sets the lower you go. If your set is super bright in the helmet and the shoulders, and then you start going down and it's just this bland, dark gray, light gray, without too much coloring, I think it loses a lot. So that's my main issue with them. Deeper down it's even worse. Hunter, Druid and Rogue. Rogue might be enjoyed by wanting something a little bit different than the usual Rogue stealthy, ninja-y edginess. Druid, it's supposed to be another beast that you wear as a tier set, but it doesn't look as good as most of the other ones I've seen previously. And then Hunter is great. Hunter actually has one of the better top sides of the set, but the bottom is awful and needs to be adjusted. And then Demon Hunter and Evoker are just not nearly as good. They are basically half sets, essentially, so they get half a rating overall. So this is what we had for today, looking at all of the tier sets in-game. As we approach likely the video that will talk about the actual tier sets and what the set bonuses will actually be, in the meantime we got to look at how they look. Still, yet another place to complain about the mythic version of the tier set being way too bland and way too similar in the color palette and in the hue of shades of color they used for mythic. I think it should be fixed before the release of the expansion, but this is all for now. Of course, let me guys know, what did you think about the tier sets, even now seeing them in game with functioning particle effects, which are the ones you enjoyed the most, you are a fan of the most. For now, I'm leaving you to the rest of your Wednesday. Now, with this being said, thanks of course as usual to all of my Patreon supporters, helping me to continue to produce content for WoW as we go deeper in the Dragonflight beta. I'm sure many of my fellow no beta club members are missing me since I left, but that's something that had to happen if I wanted to make some more videos about this upcoming expansion. Also, for further support, you can like and comment down below, as well as subscribe to my channel. That would also be very appreciated. Lastly, for further support, you can follow me on Twitter, as well as subscribing to my Patreon right this side over at these two links. With this being said and taken care of, thank you guys for watching, see you guys soon, and in the meantime, look at the clock. This was supposed to be a video talking about some models. Why is the length so obscene? What the hell?